What's going on, guys? Welcome to back to well. Okay, let me start that over. Messing up already. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Big Guilty Cigar Podcast. You guys know I'm your host, Innocent, aka Inomatic. Today, I am joined by Joe. Joe. Now, I'm hopefully, if I get the last name right, it's Paysinger, right? There we
100.
go. The Paysinger. I like that because you can do some things with that. So Joe Joe has a TikTok called Basketball and Cigars. So he also owns his own company that we're going to get into. So hope you guys enjoy the show. Come along, leave your comments if you have, and you guys know, leave your comments during this show if you have any questions for Joe. And right now, like normal, I'm gonna have Joe introduce himself. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing
And
good.
uh, and so to start, so tell us about your company.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Enjoyed our previous, getting up to
Yeah,
date.
yeah.
A few years ago, I invented a product. It's the only product of its kind. It's called the SRV Trainer. It's used, the initial purpose was for rebounding, but you can use it for shooting, rebounding, vertical training. It's the only product of its kind in the world. My company is NEM Sports Incorporated. And we started selling these things last December, and we're just trying to grow and had some great
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for us. And as a cigar lover, and I
Yep.
appreciate you having me on here.
Of course. No, thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on. Like what, Joe? I think for each sale, you should have a certain cigar for each sale of the when you make a sale, you go up and you go, this is gonna that's gonna be that cigar to celebrate that victory right there.
That's the way it initially started. My wife, now if I did that, I'd be smoking 6 or 7 a day because it's really not about what you find is that the success is not always when it's the sale, the first sale, of course. If I remember right, the very first sale that I had, I smoked probably a Perdermo. Didn't have a clue what it was like to smoke a real cigar. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then as we hit a milestone, I'll smoke a special one. The Cohiba red tube, the red that come out,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the special occasion ones. And I don't look at sales because uh, what you want in building a business, your milestones are like when an NBA guy buys your product and the guy in shipping comes up and says, "Do you know who this guy is?" And I'm like, yeah, I do. And it's a guy, it's an NBA great that buys your product, and we never knew it until I got ready to go to shipping. And so that was probably when I smoked my father's. Um,
Nice. Nice.
and
I
it
like my
kind
father's.
of so yeah. And then I recently got smoking to celebrate the blue label, the blue one.
Yep. Yep.
So
The new blue one. Yeah.
my wife gets on me because she's like, you were supposed to only smoke these when something good happens. So it's a daily routine now, and love it. But
Mm-hmm.
as an average person, 1997, I started driving a truck. So a major part of my life was around trucking, and as a fan of sports, the people that I get, either as a customer or get to meet is insane to be on that side. So
Yeah. So when you were thinking of this idea for the machine, like how did it come about? How the thought of creating a rebounding machine and being able to help, like, as far as you said it's a rebounding and also vertical training. Like, how'd you come up with the idea for that?
I didn't. It was really more trying to fix a need. I was trying to, as someone who started out volunteering coaching, and it led me to
Hmm.
coaching college football. I
Okay.
never coached my kids, so I was trying to teach my son before he went into middle school how to rebound properly with two hands, and it
Hmm.
come up with a contraption. And then looking to buy something like I had did out in the driveway with him, started the path to this. So it was never like trying to invent something to sell. I never even imagined that I would be selling it, let alone having NFL and NBA customers. I was just trying to teach him how to rebound without cussing him. I never coached my kids. That was probably what blessed me, was the fact that I wanted my kids to enjoy sports. I didn't want to be that dad. So I just it took a lot of time to develop, and then when I saw what I was going to have to sell it for, I'm like, look, this has got to be a multifunctional piece of equipment. So what can we do with it? So we made it mobile. We added the ball racks and things like that, and in the design, it makes it truly a product that you can use for shooting, rebounding, and vertical. Plus, too, we're replacing those old ball racks that's been around, and if you've seen the current price of ball racks, it's insane. Those NBA racks, ball racks that they use at the NBA games, those are about $2,000, just something.
Wow.
So I saw that problem. So we're growing. We're a startup company, and we've got a great foundation to build on.
One thing I will say, like you say, you never coach your kids, so my oldest son, he wrestles, and I'm trying to get the younger one, but it's one of those things where it's like, is he built for it? Because the older one, he chose to wrestle because I wrestled growing up, so he chose to wrestle. And I told him, I said, if you're gonna do this, I want you to give 110%.
Yeah.
And since I'm way too hard on him, and I have to catch myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll say, Dad, he was like, Dad, I gave my best effort, and he's like, you really bring down. And he'll say something like, you're bringing down my mood, and I go, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm being an asshole right now, and let's go over the footage, and we can talk about what you did wrong, and a few weeks ago he had a tournament during the summertime, and he went 4-1, and I'm like, what happened in your last match? You should have won this and that, and only to find out that he lost to the sixth ranked kid in Florida, because he was in Tampa, so he lost to the sixth ranked kid, and then I'm like, what, I should have gave you more grace, I'm like, but it's a learning experience. You're starting to realize what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
You feel what it takes to get there.
Yeah. And each kid's different. My daughter played volleyball. She I treated her completely different than my son, who played basketball. But I found that I did more than anything was I reacted to how he played, because I was more involved in that. If he thought he had a great game and was really cocky after a game, then I would point out the negatives. I would bring it down. And then if he had a bad game, then I'm pointing out the good things that he did to kind of bring him up and try to keep it balanced. And it was, and this is one of the blessings that, now he's graduated from high school. He works for me while he's starting college. But I told him, and he never understood it until he started working for me, I said, in time, you're going to see everything that I've said to you is building you up and making you a better person when you get older.
Exactly.
And we're seeing that now. So, I think if a parent would spend more time on reacting to how the kid is, if your kid, look, and when I coached, kids know if they screw up. If I was coaching football and a kid jumped offside twice, I'm not jerking out. I might bring them over the sideline and say, was that stupid or what? And they look at me and say, yeah, coach. And I'm like, are you going to do it again? And they'd be like, no, coach. And I say, get on back out there. But the best coaching points for me was always when something good happens, to point out to some kids what you could have done to make it better. Because hype and you're like, yeah, we done something great. If you didn't score, you didn't do something excellent. So, kids know, adults, we know when we screw up. At work, if I screw up at work, I don't need somebody to come tell me. I know I did. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's finding that balance. And, I grew up in the old school days where coaches didn't explain shit to you.
You
So,
know,
uh, I see what they were trying to get to now. So I try to do a lot more explaining, but, I thought coaching career was it. I got the taste of that. And, I've got the greatest job ever right now. So,
yeah. I would say, like, like when you, like, especially when you're coaching, I think the most rewarding thing about when you're coaching, you can see a kid 10 years later, and they go, coach, 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 coach. This was going on with my life, and they pay it forward because they find a way to say thank you.
yeah, yeah. One of the greatest experiences like that for me was, I started out my coaching career started out volunteering while I was a truck driver.
Yeah.
I was
Mm-hmm.
over the road and I'd volunteer my time, but I coached boys, girls, all that. But I remember one of the girls that I coached, she was over in South Carolina. She calls me one night and she's like, "Hey, coach," said, "I'm over here in South Carolina and my daughter's fixing to start playing basketball. What should what should I put her in?" And
Uh-huh.
her to trust me with everybody that coached that girl
Uh-huh.
through her career, for her to remember, the way that I coached her, to value my opinion on the way she
Mm-hmm.
do her kid. You
Yeah.
can't beat that. When you see a
Yeah.
former player come up and they tell you little things like that, you're like, you know what, I did. That's the part of coaching that I miss. It wasn't wins and losses, and
Mm-hmm.
I never coached to win. I coached to get a kid better. I felt like if you're coaching
Mm-hmm.
a 10-year-old before they get to middle school, you should be training them so they can make the middle school team. If you're coaching middle
Yep.
school, coach them where they can get to the high school team. If you do that, and look, I was very successful at coaching. It led me to the opportunity where I was able to coach college football.
Wow.
If I wasn't older in life, I probably would have followed that coaching thing. But I didn't want to move my family like coaches do. I was at
Yeah.
D2, and if you're at D2, man, you're trying to get that big money at D1, and
Yep. Exactly.
some of my friends was like, you're a family guy. Is it really worth you uprooting your family every 3 or 4 years to try to get to that big
Mm-hmm.
money? So it just wasn't for me because
Yeah.
I've had to work hard for my life. So
But
uh,
you know what the thing too is about the movement thing is you're gonna move if you want to, if you don't want to, because if you have a couple bad years, they're gonna go, well, you haven't had the success that we want. All right, you're on the streets, and that's now you got to apply for a new job.
yeah, yeah.
Then it comes
Go ahead.
then it comes to the point where it's like they make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, one of my friends that really influenced my thought was the offensive coordinator, and he had been there for 10 years. And he said, we've been here for 10 years. As long as the head coach is here, I'm going to be here. He said, but we've
Mm-hmm.
never unpacked because at the end of the season, you expect a promotion or to get fired
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And,
Yep.
I watched his career because that head coach lost his job. So everybody was gone. But I
Yep.
remember
Mm-hmm.
the season that he spent out on the West Coast coaching because he got a job late in the summer. He got a job
Mm-hmm.
um, out on the West Coast, and his family stayed on the East Coast. And he spent an entire season away. And I'm like, you know what? I could never do that to my family. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that yeah, yeah. I look, I got nothing but love for them guys that do it, especially at the D2 and D3 level, because the money ain't worth it. But
Mm-hmm.
them guys are some of the greatest people you could ever want to be around.
You
But
know, it's very interesting because when you watch something like Last Chance U, and you watch that and you see these JUCO kids, and you have to deal with these kids who are basically just big babies because they're not like you're getting the worst of the worst.
not
You know,
always. No,
like
the way it was described to me, because I actually recruited JUCO kids,
yeah.
and I was told when because I never recruited JUCO kids, I knew what high
Mm-hmm.
school kids were, but they told me straight up, said, "Coach, when you start reaching out these JUCO kids, said all of them are D1 athletes, but they
Yep.
got two
All of them.
issues:
Yep.
either they can't make the grades to be D1, or they can't leave that left-handed cigarette alone." and
Mm-hmm.
got a small window of time to figure out which problem it is, because we can handle one, but we can't handle the other.
There's the other. Yep.
And you know what?
That's a
I was
great
like,
saying.
damn, man, and it was true. It was true. So when you deal with these kids, um, that I loved all my kids ever coached,
Mm-hmm.
college, whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a shit what if they smoked a left-handed cigarette. It didn't bother me one bit. But
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't help how they grew up, because most of them, that's the way they grew up. But
Mm-hmm.
no, you have to figure it out really quick. But them JUCO kids, man, uh, that's a different breed. Last chance shooting, I
Mm-hmm.
wish they showed even more,
Yeah.
but that was probably the most honest stuff. And I hate that some of the bad stuff come out of it. But no,
Mm-hmm.
them coaches that was in that, nothing but respect for them guys.
Well, because you're taking kids who academically, academically they aren't there. And then they don't have the academics, and a lot of them are immature.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of them aren't there academically. A lot of them are immature. So you have to be able to pick your battles and find a way to keep them on the straight and narrow. Because it's like, listen, like this is supposed to be a pit stop. This right here is so this way you can go from here to a D1 school.
But think about this: you got kids at the JUCO level. Their whole life, probably from the time that they were 10, they were the best
Mm-hmm.
athletes, whatever that they
Yep.
played, basketball, whatever. So they've been told since they were 10 years old for 8, 9 years how great they were, and they got
Mm-hmm.
they whether when they were in high school, someone else did their work for them because they were the stud on the football field or the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been told nothing but propped up. Nobody
Yep.
ever put in and said, look, you got to take some responsibility in the classroom to
Yeah.
get there. So yeah, I don't blame those JUCO kids. I don't put it all on those kids. Their environment put them in a situation, and very, because everybody, they want to be around you when you're doing good and keep propping you up. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want to set you up for whatever. And that's why these successful high school coaches, they can be successful wherever they go, because they're implementing all that.
Mm-hmm. So a question now to how do you feel about, because I don't like it anymore. I think it destroyed the game of basketball. I think the AAU system destroyed basketball. It pretty much destroyed every sport. I think travel sports really destroyed sports because it's the money,
Yeah.
and these kids, they don't practice. All of them got highlight tapes, and they're playing 4 or 5 games a day. And they're not practicing.
I think Gino said it the best. But now,
Yep.
you're seeing a trend to go back towards grassroots basketball. You're
Yeah.
seeing, look at Joker, a guy from Europe
Yeah.
that doesn't look like a basketball player that dominates. And it's real simple. Gino said it the best. You look at European, the way that they practice and play compared to U.S. You've got
Mm-hmm.
U.S. kids. They practice one time to play 4 games over a weekend. You got kids
Mm-hmm.
in Europe that are practicing 4 or 5 times a day to play one game. So,
Yep.
AAU, uh, I don't think AAU is as significant anymore because of the travel circuits with Nike, EYBL,
Mm-hmm.
the big hoops. Yeah, AAU had a monopolize on everything about the travel ball. But in reality, I don't think that AAU is anywhere significant like it used to be because of these circuit balls. And
Yeah.
and the thing is people like me and you talk, when these play
Mm-hmm.
for NBA players now, they look at AAU and all this stuff, and I think that's why the circuit ball is so big now. Is that distaste for AAU ball? So they're doing things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all about the money. But then you look at how they're structured and run. So I love it. I love it. But you know what? Travel ball wouldn't be the business it is if parents didn't want to live that dream and spend all that money.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
and I think one issue also is like you said, like the whole, it's more about it's more about just playing games. Like when I was growing up, and you were the same way. High school basketball mattered. Like AAU was like, okay, all right. Well, he during the summer he plays AAU basketball during the summer, but everything led up to your high school basketball season.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to be the man on your high school basketball team, and you could put up 32, 35 points a game. That's when everybody goes, okay, oh, he led his team to a state championship. Okay, that's the guy we want.
Yeah.
Now we have guys who go around. They don't have fun. They'll shoot from anywhere. These, and they're not playing against a real organized defense because they're playing just straight pickup ball.
Yeah.
It's organized pickup ball.
Oh, it is. But once again, if coaches were more concerned about developing players than they were trying to get themselves, if you got, you look at college coaches, you're limited on your time. So what makes sense? Go to a high school game to watch one athlete, or go to a circuit game and watch 25 athletes. So there's a lot of that, but at the same time, coaches has got to figure that out. High school coaches got to figure that out, and I think some of the better high school basketball teams have figured that out. So they have a balance, and they know that's got to be part of it. So you'll find that the better high school teams are actually involved in travel ball. They look at it as a way they got to work with it. Just like you got a good high school program. If the high school coaches aren't involved in the middle school programs, you're not going to
exactly
success. The most successful programs, the high school coaches are involved in their youth sports, and you don't see that with a lot of these teams that have a little success and then fade away.
And they find ways, because the problem is that those private schools would try to go and poach that kid, and you got to convince that kid, no, just come to the public school.
Absolutely. But once again, we know growing up, we know where the private schools was and what they were doing, and exposure and all that. So it was just a smaller scale travel ball, because these private schools was bringing in 10 athletes. College coaches would go see those 10 athletes. So Oak Hill, Oak Hill, everybody knows Oak Hill. Look what they did. That was everybody on that team's going to go somewheres. And it was Oak Hill. It was Christ the King out here in the city. Yep.
The one public school that was always making noise was Coney Island. Up here we had Mount Vernon High School. Then we had and then you had like Don Bosco and all those big, like Don Bosco is known for everything, but it was known for their football program.
Yeah.
Out here in Jersey. So that's the one thing that's amazing now, is that these private schools now, they all travel.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing, because you'll see a team from Florida have a 55-man roster going out to California, and you're like, how are they affording to do this? Like an NFL or a college team travel from here to Florida to Ohio, to play these 12 teams.
Because people with money support them, and the people with the money support them because they look at what's going on in the public schools, and they will see where they want to put their money. So I a lot of people don't like me because I'm an advocate for a kid. Let the tax money follow the kid wherever that kid wants to go, public, private, whatever, because of the opportunities. And competition breeds excellence. And if you got a monopoly on your public schools and you ain't doing the best thing for your kids, somebody else will. And that's what it boils down to. So
it's one thing that's pretty crazy, because I'm pretty sure you heard of the IMG Academy, and yep, man,
I want them as customers, man. We're working on that.
The IMG Academy, man, that place. And the funny thing about it is, they find these child prodigies and they go, they'll stay on campus. Don't stay on campus because like all of these top American golfers, tennis players, basketball players, they all went to the IMG Academy,
Yeah, but
and it
as
was
a regular person, you can send your kid there too. So that's why,
really.
yeah, that's where IMG is. They got regular kids that mom and dad wants them to do something, but it's not all elite. So it's
Mm,
that's how they can pick and choose. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure like on their campus, there's some criteria. It's just like you add a kid on here for your team GPA or whatever, but
yeah.
it's tuition. So if you can pay that
Yep.
tuition, some of them are on scholarship. So yeah, I love what IMG is doing, but also look at OTE.
Yeah.
You know, look what they're doing. So it's just it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it that way. There's a lot of people that's going to figure things out.
Well,
We
and their alumni, they have their alumni to come back and donate.
yes, absolutely.
You know,
And like I
because
said, as a coach, these top level coaches, they are stretched on their time. So, they're
mm-hmm.
going to go where the kids are, and it's where it's the biggest bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
It's uh, I'm not an opponent of public schools, but
Mm-hmm.
they'll
No,
figure it out.
no, no, Texas. We cannot talk NFL.
Oh, sure we can. What do you want to talk
No,
NFL?
no, come on.
Is he gonna say something bad about Dallas?
You know he is. Oh my God, Texas. Why you gotta go? Like, come on, man. Can I live for a little bit, Texas? Can I live? Oh my God.
I've got I'm trying to schedule a trip to Texas this week.
Yeah.
Former Cowboy is a customer of mine that I'm gonna work with. So
Yeah. Have you ever been to the stadium down in Dallas?
I went to the old one years ago before they tore it down and built the new one and
Yeah.
actually did a tour. So I'm not a Cowboy fan, but they had some good Cowboys at one time.
Listen, I would tell you this, man. So Jerry's World is Jerry's World. That place is second to none. It is the most beautiful place I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But you know, today is just it's inexcusable. It's just what, Texas, man, you should have the coronavirus. You should have it. You know what? And Texas, the best part about you having corona, you can't smoke, you can't taste nothing when you smoke your cigars. Can't taste nothing.
What part of Texas
Yeah.
is he?
Uh I believe Texas is down in he's down in I think the San Antonio area.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's down in South Texas. So, oh man, here we go. This listen to the sun don't shine there right now. The sun do not shine there right now, I tell you that. Oh man.
Let's talk about that
Yeah.
trade. Let's talk about that Dallas trade.
Look, oh no, listen, first of all, we had no pass rush today. Didn't get a sack today. And Jadeveon Clowney didn't play today. You gave up 30 points. You gave up over 30 points for the second week in a row. And you want to sit here and be in your feelings about Michael Parsons. But Michael would have went up and saved. He would have got home a couple times. It's one of those things where, like your ego cannot get the best of you. And don't get me wrong, like Green Bay lost today, but Green Bay didn't lose because of their defense. Their defense gave up 10 points on short fields. There was never a time when Cleveland drove down the field on that defense. Like that team is, if if their offense can get their head out their asses, is built for a Super Bowl. And guess what? We play Green Bay next week. So it gets even better. It gets even better. It gets even better. Like we play them next week, and Micah is gonna have like 8 sacks next week. He is gonna go to town next week. You know, uh, Texas. I tell you this. OKC is built for that team is built for championships for the next 4 years.
Look, I like either one of them. They're going to be led by Kentucky guys. So, okay, Reed.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I either one would be happy for me.
Hey, you know what? I guarantee you, the Clippers are shooting themselves right now for making that trade for SGA.
Oh God, yes.
They are because if they knew what they were getting for SGA and Kawhi, he's only played 16% of the games on his contract.
I did not know that.
16%. So in 4 years, he plays 16% of the games. Now you want to talk about stealing money? That right there is, and apparently, so his knee injury apparently is bone on bone.
Really?
Yeah.
He might be done.
Well, you know what? Like, I back in the day, Kobe went up and when he went to Germany, and he got some gel put into his knee to provide cushion.
Yeah, but athletes today aren't what they were then.
At all.
Mental toughness, man.
It don't exist.
No.
Don't exist. But you know what? And that's part of the problem.
Huge problem.
These kids like it's like being in the army. The coaches break you down to build you back up. They'll yell at you all day. They'll yell at you for an hour. Do this, do this, do this, do that. They'll yell at you all day, but you'll learn why, and you'll see why. You're like, okay, I understand, coach.
Yeah.
At the end of it, you're like, all right, I understand. Nowadays, like if you yell at a kid goes off, he's crying. He wants to get you fired. It's like, no, like I want this done. I want this done a certain way. Yep. Do it my way or no way.
Exactly.
So, that's really, that's really one of the things where, growing up, like the saying, hard times make hard men.
Absolutely.
And when we grew up, it was hard times. Now these kids have these facilities that like they treat them like they NFL players.
It's insane. It's insane the pampering that they get.
Yeah, each school has like 4 or 5 trainers. They have.
Well, your best players, they got their own little staff.
Yeah.
They take care of them specifically.
Yeah.
It's insane, but you know what? You got that much money wrapped up in them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What do you do?
And it's funny because Matt Barnes talks about the AAU system. And, he says, his kids play AAU basketball. And he goes, the problem is, he has to coach them on their own, for them to be able to get the fundamentals. And it's not like before where if one kid had a ball, you had six kids going to the basketball court, Oh, wow.
I don't know about that.
Hey, you know what? You know what the rumor is on Vince. They say that Vince could have been the greatest of all time. They say Vince was unbelievable. They say that he would do stuff at practice. They say Vince was they say he was unguardable, you know. But they said that he didn't want like he didn't want it bad enough,
Yeah.
you know. Hey, what's up, Sean? How you doing, man? How's everything, man? I'm doing good. Hope you and Marcy doing well, brother.
How you doing, Sean?
Yeah, it's like they like, and don't get me wrong, like Vince was a high flyer and he had to change his game to become more of a shooter,
Yeah.
but if they say if Vince would have really had that killer mentality, he would have been the greatest.
That could be said for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah,
As
you
we were
know,
saying pre-show, there's a lot of factors that always factors into
yeah,
that, and that's one of the things. Like I was saying on my side, getting the opportunity to work with athletes and stuff is, I get to see a lot of that negative stuff that we don't see or how things are affected.
hmm.
Yeah, they ain't always.
Oh man, the snowman is. Oh, whatever, Darshawn. So Darshawn, he actually grew up with LeBron.
Really?
Yeah, and he sits there, and you can't say nothing bad about LeBron when he's around, even though LeBron is soft. If LeBron had the mentality of Mike and was saying, "I'm gonna drive 80 on you tonight,
Yeah.
and I want to see y'all stop me," because that's the one thing is like, the reason why I feel like Mike is so legendary is the fact that he would go and go, "Oh, I'm gonna kill y'all,"
Yeah.
and they go, "Oh man," and they always say, "Don't make them mad.
Yeah.
Don't talk." They go during the game. Don't talk to him.
Yeah.
Don't talk to him. You know, and somebody will mess up and be talking crap to Mike, and then Mike goes, "Okay, I got something for you." And next thing you know, Mike put 20 on you in the quarter.
Yeah.
You
You
know.
know what? The one thing about LeBron, I think he had the God gifted body and
Yeah.
athleticism to be the greatest.
Mm,
But I agree. And the thing is, I've heard stories about when he was in high school going down to the Cleveland
mm,
facility and playing with the NBA guys and how he
yeah.
destroyed them.
Yeah.
And, and then to see how soft he is. And look,
Yeah.
I'm not a LeBron fan, but I'll say if he used his body like it was should have been meant to be, there's no
Mm,
question the titles he would have had and things like that. But once again, I think a lot of LeBron was influenced off court, with his influencers. Uh,
mm,
but yeah, the
yeah.
guy, and he has showed. Look what he did for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it was there. But yeah, I don't think he's overall GOAT.
Nah. Here we go. Here we go. The king.
Self-proclaimed king.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Who anointed him?
Yeah, exactly. 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 You know, like, my thing when it came to him is you know, to me he was always too passive and he felt like he was smarter than anybody else.
Yeah, I agree with that
You
100%.
know, like it had to be his way or no way. The
Yeah,
team had to be built how he wanted the team to be built. For me it's like, yeah, like you like during this era, you're like you in this era, you were great. You were beyond like everybody knew like, if LeBron got hot, you know, he'll give you 50. And even during that finals run when it was just him versus the Warriors by himself because everybody was injured. It was just him by himself, and it was 5-on-1, and he dropped 50 each game. You know, and the one thing too was like that was the first time I was like, okay, this guy he can do what he wants.
Of course.
But then he went up and he was crying about the whole time, talking about how tired he is and this and that. And I'm like, dude, like the thing about that is, if he would have pulled off one of those rings by himself when everybody else got hurt, oh, then you can have a debate.
Absolutely.
Because then it's like he won a ring by himself.
Yep.
It was 5-on-1. It was LeBron versus Golden State.
Well, I'll give you one even better than that. I mean, just win with the built teams you got. You let
Mm-hmm.
beat you a couple times. Dirk, Steph. I mean, no, I'm not taking nothing away from Steph, because that guy, he's going to go down as a guy that changed the game.
Yeah. Destroy the game.
But and Steph is a guy that shouldn't have been around but a year or two. But look what he's done. But now LeBron just for his athleticism, to me, has been a disappointment. Not LeBron. All the other crap don't care about. But that type of a specimen you just won't see, and LeBron didn't live up to it.
All right, here we go. When did Jordan do it by himself? You know what the thing is? We're not saying that Jordan did it by himself, but the way that Mike did it, Mike said, "I'm gonna be the reason either we win or we lose. It's not gonna be on Scotty.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be on Tony Kukoc or Paxton, anybody. Nope. If we win, it's because of me. Like he told the guys, just fall in line. And because for me, it's like think about how great certain guys would have been, and it's all about timing. Like if Ray Allen was able to play in this era, forget about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I got another name for you, and one of your boys, Rex Chapman. One of your boys.
Yeah, but look, from what we know about Rex right now, a lot of off-court stuff. But yeah, Rex Chapman, that dude was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those are those off-court demons. Situations. You don't realize the influence, what's influenced on these players until you're on the backside of things and you see some of the things, and it's insane. But yeah, I mean, Rex was a guy that he should have had a much better career.
Man, Rex can shoot it.
Oh God, yes, he could dunk it.
Yeah. That
kid back in the day. I mean, that was me being a kid watching Rex play at Kentucky. But yeah, that was Sean Kemp. That's another one we were just talking about the other day. Sean should have been a little bit better than what he was, but
those ultra-core demons.
Absolutely.
Like another one of your boys, Jamal Mashburn.
Oh, Monster Mash.
That
dude was unreal. I mean, these guys had good careers in the league. But they were also playing. Look at the teams that was, we were still in what I call the good days for our era. That was when teams actually competed and stuff, and defense and stuff. So you really, when you won, you weren't a super team unless it was a Celtics or Lakers.
You know what? But Rob, that's the thing. If Kyrie plays, like LeBron would have probably won more. But I don't know, man. Mike would have probably told everybody shut up, and once the team went cold and missed like 5 shots in a row, Mike would have probably went to the bench and said, "Ain't none of y'all getting no more shots. Y'all passed me the ball y'all set picks and screens for the rest of the game and give me the ball. I'm the only one shooting." You know.
But none of those teams ever go to the championship with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
LeBron's super team is, they're super teams. Mike didn't have a super team.
Mm-hmm. You know,
Dennis Rodman. You know, you bring in Dennis Rodman when they brought in Dennis Rodman to do one thing.
just rebound. And Rodman can score. He can give you 10 to 10.
Rodman could defend.
Yeah.
Could defend. I mean, he could defend anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rodman was a different beast in itself. That's a guy. You don't personally get on a flight and go to Las Vegas to get Rodman because he sucks. You know.
Well, no. Well, the funny thing about it is when Rodman goes, "I need a break," you know, and he goes, "What do you mean you need a break?" He goes, "I need a break. I need to get away. I need to go to Vegas for 2 days." and he stayed in. Well, first of all, Rob, I'll tell you this, Rob. First of all, if I, if I go and I see Phil Jackson in the street, it's on site. Phil Jackson single-handedly destroyed the Knicks because Phil Jackson goes up and says, "Oh, if we want Melo, we got to run a triangle offense." He fired Mike Woodson after the Knicks were doing so well with Woody. He brings in bum-ass Derek Fisher, brings in bum-ass Jeff Hornacek. You know, like, it was like the Phil Jackson era with the Knicks was Phil can't come to New York no more. Phil can't come to New York because he did that bad and at picking talent.
But those two Hall of Famers that Phil had wouldn't have been Hall of Famers without Phil.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and like Phil's a great coach, great coach. Like now here's a question for you. Like, now, would you take Phil or Popovich?
Me, I would take Phil every day. Every day, because the way that Phil was with the players, I feel like at the Phil at Chicago all day long. Look at Steve Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Phil guy right there.
Yeah, yeah. John Sally said if LeBron had the triangle system, well, like, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of one of those things where it's like, can LeBron play in a triangle? Because LeBron, like, he likes the floor like spread so he can work. Like, LeBron likes the lane to be empty. Sorry.
I think if LeBron had the heart, LeBron could do anything he wanted. Yeah, if LeBron had the heart, LeBron could do anything he wanted.
That's the thing.
I'll never dispute anything if LeBron had the heart. If he
had the heart. Oh. You said I would definitely take Pop over Phil.
I really think. I mean, that's personal. I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, you know what? Pop did have he did have losing records with Tim. Well, here's the thing. Back then, like of course, like back then he would do it, but that's because LeBron didn't have the clout. He didn't have that. I'm LeBron James.
I
No,
think he
now.
did. No, I think he did. Yeah, he did. I just think it's LeBron's heart, dude. I'll never dispute that's the best basketball player that God ever put on a basketball court. He had all the potential in the world to hands down, but he
Mm-hmm.
didn't live up to his body, and that's my argument. It's nothing about who did this it's LeBron had the body and athleticism to be the greatest player ever, and he didn't through his heart or whatever. He didn't live up to that. I mean that's it. Athleticism. You can debate what don't matter, but when you look at what he should have accomplished with who he was with, everything else, LeBron didn't, and I'll leave it at that. You look at Michael Jordan, what he did at North Carolina, then when he comes and what he won, hands down. But then if you want to talk about the greatest, there's a lot of other people that we can have this debate about who's really the GOAT, because there's a lot of them out there that could be the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
The rings and what they did for the game. Wilt, Kareem, Bird, Magic. We forget about all those, and it's not just a two-man race right here if you want to look at eras and everything else. So there's a lot of other guys that can also be thrown in there. To be the GOAT.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be the GOAT, you got to do it. Look, a body like that's going to heal. The money being put in that, you're going to heal. You throw your body around there. Your doctors can fix you. You're going to heal. You're not skin and bones, and you're going to heal quicker. And from what I understand, LeBron's always had special treatment when it comes to injuries and rehab.
And the thing too is LeBron spent more time in LA than he did in Cleveland, which is kind of crazy. When you think about it. But and that's the thing. If LeBron had the killer instinct, man, LeBron would have been, because that's the like if LeBron went up before a game and said, "Oh, I'm gonna drop 50 on him tonight. Don't worry about that. I got this." He would always half-heartedly say, "I'm gonna do something." He never went up and stood 10 toes down on it. He would always half-heartedly say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this." He always went up and was like, "Well, I'm gonna come out and do better." It was never, "Oh, like I'm gonna win this game by myself no matter what." Barkley is kind of hard. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for Barkley just because of the fact that at the beginning stage of his career, like Barkley was always a weight problem with Barkley.
I know. Look. I agree with what he said. If you're talking about GOAT, the only reason the Barkley's not because he don't have a ring, but as far as absolutely, yeah, I think that's that shit. Shaq go. But Barkley, absolutely. And the only reason nobody does very much is because Barkley don't got that ring. Oh, God. Yeah.
So, I got a question for you now. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of Kentucky players?
God. We talk about this all the time. With what Calipari did for Kentucky basketball will never be seen again, I don't think, in college basketball. But that's this, this wouldn't make no sense because it's just personal picks. You've got to have Nash up there. You've got to have Chapman up there, Anthony Davis. I think John Wall. I would go Willie Cauley-Stein because he's one of my favorites. Just because Willie was one of the guys that wasn't expected to do a lot and turned into not only a great player, but Willie didn't want to leave. Willie wanted to stay in Kentucky and was more or less pushed out.
Yeah.
And look, when I heard the story about why John pushed kids to go to the NBA if they wanted to stay, and it was the player at Memphis who got injured and lost millions and all that, and Calipari's philosophy. I'm a huge fan of Calipari for putting players, and a lot of people was like, John wasn't as concerned about championships as he was getting kids in NBA. But guess what? That's what they're there for. I'm a diehard Kentucky fan. I wanted championships, but man, he took Kentucky out of the damn gutter with what Billy Clyde did, and he made Kentucky basketball and is spoken every day. So and we got a guy that was a Kentucky guy now that's brought Kentucky back to what Kentucky basketball used to be. So Boogie Cousins, that's another one.
Yeah.
You got more than just a Rushmore of Kentucky players, and you gotta go back to every time they won a championship. The Twin Tires, Bowie and Turpin, and God, caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared to talk, but all the Kentucky greats. Winston Bennett, one of the guys that I remember that was one of the Kentucky greats. Of course, Dan Issel, he was a Kentucky guy, I believe. So yeah, there's just so many, and then I think you have to have 3 or 4 different ones where you're breaking things down different.
So and I'm pretty sure you hate those Kansas Jayhawks.
I work with a Naismith family, so I got like Kansas a little bit. They got a stud, Cole Rosario. We got to see him play live, and when he wasn't being recruited, he was a no name, and we watched him play in one of the OTE games, and we were watching him warm up and watching what that kid did, and was like, why is nobody talking about this Rosario kid? And within 2 months, he went viral, and he ended up reclassifying, going to Kansas. And if you're a Kansas fan, man, y'all better be in love with Cole Rosario, because that kid is unbelievable. Not only is he a high flyer, but he can shoot the lights out. So, I'll be secretly rooting for Kansas just a little bit. I'm not a fan because I think he's crooked as all get out, but I love watching Cole play at Kansas.
So the rivalry used to be, Kentucky Louisville, and the Louisville program really died after Pitino left.
I wouldn't say it died. Look, they've I don't know what. Look at their football. What happened with football? I don't know what's going on in Louisville. They got a lot of issues. I like who they've got now. Was it Mac? Whatever. I think he's going to do well, but like Louisville's got a lot of money. They got a lot of money. It's Louisville. They've been in the basketball talk for years. Football. So, but no, with Kentucky, I think we hate Duke more than we hate Louisville.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No,
Gotta help my mom out. Yeah, so but Rob just said his top 5 from Louisville.
Oh God, yeah. Those are you got too many. I'm not going to dispute anybody's 5 Kentucky guys, man.
So smoking about.
No, I would never dispute them. None of those guys. I mean, Shy, of course, absolutely. But like I said, a lot of mine's going to be because I grew up watching Kentucky, and my first guys I watched and things like that had influence. But yeah, you've got this whole Calipari era players that, man, that's a tough question.
Yeah, and it's interesting now because the SEC all of a sudden, I don't know where they got all this money from, but now the SEC is pumping out Alabama, Auburn. I'm like, when did Alabama have good basketball?
Dude, Nate Oates is insane. I love the guy, but they're the NIL stuff has really allowed allowed them to take the money that was already there and put it right. So and it's the SEC. Um,
Yeah.
Whether you're Missouri or South Carolina or whatever, you're in the SEC. So these boosters, and they know that they've got to have that money and throw at it. So you look, Travis Perry left Kentucky, went to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go over playing time. He went because he's probably going to make more money at Ole Miss over the
Then
next
that day.
years. And he's a Kentucky guy. We
Mm.
joke, we say that don't be. Oh God, Ron Mercer. Jesus Christ! First time I ever watched Ron Mercer play was in went in Nashville at Vanderbilt. But yeah, that guy was insane. I remember when he announced that he was going to Kentucky because we didn't know, and there was talk about this or that. So when Ron went to Kentucky, that was like a holiday in the state of Kentucky.
Well, you know what? It's so, and you hurt me, right? Because you stole Kenny Payne from us.
Yes, Kenny Payne.
You,
That guys like that is what made Calipari good. Kenny Payne.
man, oh man.
Louisville,
Listen,
I thought he was going to take Louisville, but some guys are better assistants than they are head coaches. And Calipari did an amazing job at bringing in the absolute best assistant coaches. But I wish Payne would have had better luck at Louisville.
yeah. Lord Barris, how are you doing, sir? Lord Barris, I hope you're having a good night. Yeah. But like, because Kenny Payne he was on the Knicks coaching staff, and he was the one that really helped Randall develop.
Yeah.
And then you guys went up and poached him for us. Then Indiana went up and took Woody from us. Man, took all to because Tibbs is a great defensive guy, but those two guys ran the offense for Tibbs, and Tibbs can kind of he didn't have to go up and do everything.
Yeah,
he had guys he trusted, and now Tibbs is. Which do I think Tibbs should have been fired? No. I don't think Tibbs should have been fired. And now it's like Mike Brown has so much pressure.
Yeah.
He has so much pressure, it's because for us, it's championship or bust. And in my lifetime, it has never, ever, ever been championship or bust.
Yeah.
So for the first time, it's going to be like, it's championship or nothing. Like, hey, Tony, thanks for stopping by. And, I got the SSL one right here. Get the in the shadow cigar. Since you stopped by, Tony. I got to go up and give you some love, man.
Is that his?
That's his cigar.
Okay, yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, man.
Earlier.
Yeah, it's a good smoke, man. It's a really good smoke. Oh, see, Mike. Yeah, that's the scary part. That's the scary part. He has no stand. Well, he has no stand, but neither does Tibbs. Neither does Tibbs. Here we Darshawn. Darshawn. I'm already having a bad day because the goddamn Dallas Cowboys. All right. Like, I believe in Brunson. Now, my thing with Brunson is if Brunson was able to give me more assists and not hold the ball as long and gets everybody involved, I don't think anybody can beat us. But I think JB just goes up and holds the ball way too long.
But what's next? The next prime because they are the East Coast Lakers.
Yeah. I would say this, man. There, I don't care what nobody says. Nobody, not the Lakers, not the Cowboys, not Yankee fans, not Met fans. Knick fans are the most passionate fans in all of sports.
But I mean, it's
It's
like I said,
culture, man.
the Knicks are the East Coast Lakers because you don't
Well,
know. You got your celebrities that support the
yeah.
Knicks. You got
Well,
Spike
you know
Lee.
what? But you know what the thing is see people on the West Coast, the Laker fans, they don't know basketball. Knicks fans know basketball.
I agree with that.
Knicks fans know basketball. And Knicks fans would sit there and say, because over here, man, like that's basketball that's what we do, man. And you know, like to me, one of the worst decisions ever was for the Nets to go to Brooklyn because they don't have a fan base.
I agree.
If you ever go to a Knicks Laker game, there's more Knicks fans there than Laker fans. I mean, there's more Knicks fans there than Brooklyn fans because number one, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's so much cheaper. So
Yeah.
like for good seats to a Brooklyn game, you'll pay $250.
Yeah.
$250 in the Garden will get you up in the nosebleeds.
Yep. Yeah, and you know what? You saying that? We've been to more, and I'm not a huge NBA guy as far as like I used to be,
Mm-hmm.
but we've gone to more NBA games because of the value of the ticket. As a
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky guy, look where we have to sit up in the upper deck at Kentucky, or we can sit right there on the court.
Yeah.
So we go. We visited. Atlanta, Memphis, and Charlotte are all good within driving distance for us.
Yeah.
And those are awesome seats. We sit right there on court for the same price if you try to get a decent Kentucky seat. So
that's crazy. That's crazy. But you know what? Speaking of Memphis, like it's interesting because they're trying to get that team out of Memphis.
that FedEx money, brother.
Yep.
I don't think that FedEx money is gonna let them go nowhere.
Stick. First of all, you can't talk about nobody sucking because what happened to your Jets today? You can't say nothing because your Jets choke like they normally do. The Jets pull the Jets. You can't say nothing. You can't say nothing, Stick. But that's like so. The way I see it is that they're gonna take that team from Memphis and put that team either in LA, be not LA, they're gonna put them in Vegas or Seattle.
You still got that FedEx money though, that influence.
Yeah, well, the problem that they're saying they're doing that because of the violence in Memphis. So they're saying they're gonna keep. I'm sorry, it's three places. It's Nashville.
I'd see them going to Nashville before the other because Seattle's you've got issues in Seattle. That's not. I don't see that. Vegas, look,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen. But I see them creating another team before.
Yeah.
But I think Memphis is makes sense that they go to Nashville.
So I think the NBA is going to add two more teams. So I think they're going to give Vegas a team, and I really do because Seattle's been crying for a team for the last 20 years. They've been crying for a team, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to move Memphis to the east, and then they might move either Minnesota or one of them teams that's very, very close to the Eastern Conference.
We did have a conversation. I see Minnesota going to Seattle as a realistic.
Really?
But yeah, and this was a discussion we were talking about, and whoever it was made a lot of sense on that move. But I just don't see Memphis leaving the state of Tennessee. I could see him moving Nashville because Nashville's a hotbed for a lot of reasons. There's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
ton, a ton. So and like I said, that FedEx money, unless they pulled it, there's a ton of FedEx money in Memphis, man.
Hey, yeah, John Moran do not need he don't need Vegas at all. Man,
You know,
you know, it's what it's the craziest thing when you talk about sports and money and how expansion
yeah,
because like the MLB wants to add teams. So they're dying to get Nashville a team. Here we go. Go ask your question, Darshawn. Go ask your question. Ask your question. But so they want to move the Rays out of Tampa so bad. You see, like stuff like that can get you put in timeout, Darshawn. I should put you in timeout. Just for that. And second of all, you from Ohio. How you a Colts fan? You from Ohio. Like I could understand you being a Ravens fan, because the bolt like that connection, but like the fact that you're a Colts fan, says it alone. But like we were talking before the show, just about how the NBA, like they're gonna get their own Champions League.
Oh yeah.
And the problem is, and it's gonna be like, and what they're gonna do is gonna be the winners, the winners, the two teams that make it to their conference championships. Those four teams will represent the U.S. Will represent, and then they'll take whatever four teams from whatever other countries, and they'll do it like that. And the thing is going to be just the money.
Yeah,
but they're going to throw so much money at these guys that they get that that they're not going to care. They're going to be like, yo, yeah, we're in.
Yeah.
Because the way the Champions League works now in soccer is these guys get paid extra money to play those games, because when your club wins, I believe you get around like $50 million, something around there, $75 million for winning Champions League.
Maybe there's a ton of money in soccer. I mean, geez,
yeah,
that's something I need to figure out, the soccer stuff. But look what they're doing in the Middle East. Look at the money that they're throwing. All this money here recently that they've been talking about. So, money talks. Look how China influences our sports over here. So, if you've got those that's involved with it, that's too much money for them not to do it. So, yeah. And if the players are going to make an extra 40, 50 million.
Gosh, Sean, that is not funny. You know what? Like, I hope your cigar tunnels on you. Like I hope your cigar just explodes. Like that's, it's amazing because of the fact that now, like Adam Silver, he's pushing so hard to make the NBA global.
Yeah,
but it's global already.
It is.
Here we are. Listen, if Bernard King didn't get hurt, man, I tell you, him and Ewing together. But Bernard King was before my time. Bernard was before my time. But
wasn't the Bernard a Tennessee guy?
No, Tennessee.
Ernie Bernie show.
Yep. Yep. Man. But you know what, man? like if you look at all those great college teams that never won a championship,
Oh God, yes,
like those NC State teams,
yes.
those Houston teams
Oh,
when they
Houston.
had,
Oh my God.
you
That's
know, five slammer jammer, man. You know, and Clyde is one of my favorite players. My favorite player of all time is Rasheed Wallace. That's my guy. She's my guy.
he's a badass. He's
You know,
badass.
but like Clyde was one of my guys because the Fab Five.
Oh, we
You
don't want
know,
to talk
like
about him.
yeah, oh man, Fab.
Uh,
Yep, and those in those in even a couple like it's amazing how like back in the day if you went to North Carolina you were the man.
yeah,
If you put on that Carolina blue jersey, everybody goes, oh no, he's nice.
yeah.
And now like nobody's going to North Carolina no more. It's the
Uh,
craziest.
no, I mean North Carolina's still North Carolina. You just have so. I mean the competitiveness is grown. Um, North Carolina's still North Carolina. Um, they still get their five stars. They're
Yeah.
just um, but no, you just have more. You have better coaches. You have it's just it's gotten better overall.
And Darshawn, you a hater. And that's the one thing too is, you got these you look at these schools like to me the biggest thing big was when the Big East got destroyed.
Yeah.
That because the Big East tournament was the tournament. Because you had at one because all those teams were always ranked at least 8 of those teams was ranked in the top 25.
But were they
You know,
deserved?
like yeah, come on, because you had St. John's, Georgetown, UConn, Pitt, West Virginia, and you had who else was in that? I think Villanova.
Yeah.
Like you look at those 12 schools, you're like, Syracuse.
Yeah.
Syracuse used to be a powerhouse. Like it's one of those things how the landscape has just totally shifted now to where you have all these southern schools now. They're the ones you got to worry about. But
Oh
you,
yeah.
you always have to worry about Kentucky.
Yeah. Well,
You
except for when
always have.
Billy Clyde was there. Billy Clyde, that was still ain't figured that one out. But that was the flavor of the moment thing that backfired.
Well, you know what? What was very, very interesting about it was the year that John Wall and them got knocked out. When they got knocked out early, and you think about like, man, if those guys would have stayed for one more year, because I always feel like you can't win with freshmen. You know, I always feel like if you want to win a championship, you need some juniors and seniors win championships.
I agree. You gotta have a leader. You gotta have an older guy to be a leader.
Yeah,
Uh, John never figured that out.
yeah, at
I think
all.
had John figured that out, Kentucky would have got their 9 and 10 with the talent he had. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because when he did win, he had the Darius Millers and
Yeah.
that definitely is true. And the ones that beat him had those older guys.
Mm-hmm. And we just overpower them.
Yep. Well, I don't
And,
know.
and
Overpowered. They just that experience.
yeah, and you look at that, and you look at guys like you know, like You look at those teams like Gonzaga now. A small school in Washington where the only D1 program they have is basketball. That's it. And somehow, some way, he's able to keep those kids. He's able
because
to keep them.
Mark Pugh, I got to meet the guy. He was with Cal, one of the Final Fours, and got to meet him. Which we've seen Cal many times. But I tell you what, that dude, he is an unreal guy. Um, you understand why once you meet him and you actually have a conversation with him, you see why that they can be as good. He could go wherever he wants. He's going to be successful. Bruce Pearl. Um,
Yeah.
when we talk John Calipari, he's what we call an elitist. I'm a huge John Calipari fan, but he's a
Mm-hmm.
different type of a coach. An example is like Bruce Pearl at the New Orleans Final Four. Bruce Pearl
Mm-hmm.
puts himself in the middle of all the action, and he don't mind being around people. People like
Mm-hmm.
Cal separate themselves. The Mark Hughes and everybody else, they're amongst the people. Which
Mm-hmm.
is why wherever they go, they're going to be successful. John Calipari is going to be successful on a different level for the players, which is why he rubs some people, the fans, wrong with his attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Pearl, as much as we love Bruce at Tennessee when he was at Tennessee and now what he's doing at Auburn, that dude it's just unreal the type of a person that puts himself in the middle of everybody on a personal level and just wants to talk to everybody. It's Bruce Pearl's just an amazing guy. The off court stuff that he's gotten himself into a little different, but but those that's why Gonzaga.
Oh, didn't you guys have Tubby?
We had Tubby. Love Tubby. I got no issues with Tubby, man. Tubby's a great guy. We used to hate that he had his boy play for him, Saul, and we thought he got a little special treatment. But Tubby's an awesome guy too, man. Tubby was great for the program. I don't know that if Pitino hadn't have built that team the year before, and if Tubby would have won it. But that's probably an exclamation point if you're a Kentucky fan that he won it with Rick's guys. But no, man, we love Tubby's a great guy. So no, we don't talk bad about Tubby.
And so because when Calipari quit, right? When he left you guys, right?
Yeah, it was it was time for him to go. I liked the way he did it. I loved the situation he put himself in. And then you look, Kentucky went after two of the biggest name coaches out there, but they weren't going to come. So then what does Kentucky do? They say, oh, we're not going to get one of these big name coaches. Let's look at one of our own. And look, Mark Pope was perfect for the job. As a former player, he understands, what it means to wear that uniform. And, he's really a fan coach as much as he is anything else. So look what he's done at BYU. He said wherever he went, whatever coaching job he took, he said, if Kentucky ever calls, I'm gone. And, he got that call. And so I think it worked out great for him. Calipari, for whatever reasons, I think it was more, he was, like I said, the elitist, but I hope John has success at Arkansas other than when he plays.
Well, you know what? I was upset because I'm a St. John's guy. Because I tell you this, the city when St. John's was, because we're all like, hold up, St. John's is winning, and the city starts buzzing. Hold up, St. John's is back. What? What? Next thing you know, everybody's like, oh. You starting to see St. John's hats and T-shirts everywhere, and when they lost, man, the city was down. But we got high hopes, and so Pitino, he went to Iona College.
Yep.
And Iona College is in the same city I'm from New Rochelle. So I thought that Calipari was gonna go up there and build up Iona College and actually do some You know, I'm like, yes, we got Patino. You know, like Iona College is gonna make the instant. They're gonna make the instant of double every year. He's gonna be able to get top recruits. You know, to come to this small college because New Rochelle High School is bigger than Iona College.
Yeah.
You know, and when he left for St. John's, I was like, bastard. You
We,
know,
we thought that Tino was going to come to back to Kentucky after Cal left. Because
really,
what Patino says that was the worst mistake he ever did was leaving and going to the Celtics.
yeah.
When he went, what the Celtics give him, you can't say nothing bad about him leaving. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we always heard that Patino's wife, that she's an East Coast. That's where she wanted to be. That's where her heart was. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense why he's there. But we knew that. Heard rumors across the Kentucky boards that Kentucky plane was spotted up there around Patino's area before they announced. They
Yep.
announced Pope. It was pretty much that I think Patino told them you guys got to hire Pope because Patino come out and said he's going to support Pope whatever, and it was it was great. It was great because with Patino him going to Louisville, that was not good
Yep.
for Kentucky, but he
Yeah.
just loves Kentucky. And so yeah, I love that. I love our coach. I think Pope's going to be around for a while. But look, John went to Arkansas with the Walmart money, man.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
got the
Yep.
Tyson money and the Walmart money and support. So John ain't hurting for nothing. And
You know, I would say this about Colin Perry. He said something very interesting, and he was talking about the transfer portal. You know, and he was talking about the transfer portal. He said these kids should only be able to transfer one time. And if they transfer again, they have to sit out a year. Because he said it's hard to coach these kids because of the fact that these guys you can coach them up and then they'll poach them and they'll offer him more money and he can leave penalty free. So he said every year is like free agency. You know, he goes, I can go from my starting point guard, you know, or the kid who was backing up my starting point guard, building him up, knowing that this guy's leaving next year is going to be his year, and some team goes and pays him and scoops him up, and now I don't have a point guard no more.
or the coach gets hired. Should the coach
Yeah.
set out for a year? Look, if the
Well.
coach can leave, if the coach can, I love college basketball right with the NIL, the way it's changed, everything else. I love what's going on right now because I say this from the business side of things that's had NIL deals with where it is right now. When the NIL started, had the fans supported the players and the deals that they had, not the major deals that they had NIL
Hmm.
deals with, but the guys that had signed deals, had the fan base supported those businesses, you wouldn't see NIL what it is right now. It would have stayed exactly what it was. And but I can tell you on my side, we had Oscar Sheboy, National Player of the Year. Kentucky
Hmm.
fans wouldn't support what Oscar was doing because it didn't have Kentucky on it. Dude, you want Oscar?
Mm.
You want Oscar to stay? You want these kids to stay? Support their businesses
Yeah.
because as a fan, Kentucky fan, having a National Player of the Year, that was awesome for me. But on business wise, it didn't pan out. It didn't pan out with having
Hmm.
other than the product. I mean, there was other things that we were trying to generate revenue with the Kentucky fan base, but now that fan base, and I've talked to enough businesses across the country, same way
Mm.
fan bases. If it didn't have that school's name on it, they didn't support that business. So I love the NIL right now. I love it. I think it's still got some changing to happen, but I support all of it because it goes back on the fans. If you want the kids to stay, support the
Hmm.
business. So, but no, man, I love NIL right now. That's the uh, on the business side. I can only I speak from that and how I saw it and spoke to other businesses. And as a lot of these kids, don't matter what size schools they were at, these small businesses supported those kids, but the fan base didn't. So
Hmm.
let a kid transfer. Let him transfer middle of the year. You know, If they let them go, they'll figure out the NIL though.
So speaking of NIL, so there was a kid that went to Wisconsin. He went to Wisconsin, took their money, and then went back to Alabama. You know, and was Wisconsin.
Go ahead.
No, and Wisconsin is pissed where they went up and was suing the kid for their money back.
Tennessee's doing the same thing with the kid that went to UCLA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he left right there at the end of spring practice. You take the NIL money and you transfer. I think that's a different story. That's not a regular NIL. You've committed and you've taken that money. You should have to set out a year. There should be consequences. But you know what? We're talking millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Look what just happened. It was at Wofford College. Those kids with their meal, they took housing off the campus, but they used their meal cards for like $100. They 5 or 6 players lost their eligibility and they fired the coach. NCAA, and this is another one with NCAA. They punish Wofford College, which is a nobody. They don't do nothing for these other programs like the Kansases, the Dukes, or the Kentuckys that violates what the NIL is because of who they are. I remember when NIL started, the only school that I knew of that punished a kid for NIL violations was a kid out in some small school. He come back for his senior year. He got paid like $2,000 from an agent. The NCAA said it was an agent that wasn't certified. The kid, they paid him like whatever the plane ticket was to travel from California to do some type of a basketball tournament, paid him another $2,000. This kid lost his senior year of eligibility because he was at a school of nobody, but he was a kid good enough that probably would have made a G League roster, but he went back to the year. They got busted. None of these other big schools. At that same time, what was it? Miami paid every player that played football $60,000. That was a complete violation. So that's why they called it the Wild Wild West, because NCAA is a joke. They punished a school like Wofford because a kid used his meal card to buy a meal. But it's NCAA flexing their muscle with somebody that doesn't generate revenue for them.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, you got schools like Kentucky, like they'll like certain schools will never get a death penalty. And you know what? I tell you this, the schools
Kentucky did.
Oh wow.
They got the Sean Kemp incident where they found the $10,000 cash in the Kentucky they got some harsh treatment. I would say Kentucky, look, Bill Self got busted at Kansas and suffered no repercussions of that. North Carolina Duke, for the stories I hear about Duke, but those are elitist, and Kentucky didn't get the severest. But yeah, they were scrutinized.
Well, because you look at like Penn State football, when they got theirs, killed their program.
They should have killed it a little bit worse. They should have killed it a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Penn State shouldn't even be significant for 10 years at least with everything that come out over that. Yeah, they should get that team and completely start over.
They gave them one. They gave Miami one.
Yep.
Took away those scholarships. And Miami, we're back now. We're back now finally. But the problem is once Miami starts getting a little bit of noise, and now those boosters can start spending money and actually start paying these guys and a real NIL, everybody's like, oh well, we can't compete with Miami. Investigate this guy. See where his money's coming from. It's like, oh,
But you know what? A lot of teams don't flaunt like Miami does.
Listen, it's all about the U, baby.
I'm no fan of Miami, but you know what? That's their boosters, man. It's unreal. They are. I give them hats off to Miami, man.
they're flashy, but that's Miami. Miami's flashy,
Always has been, man.
you
Always
know.
has been.
So and what amazed me last year was the fact that nobody thought Florida was going to win a national championship.
Yeah.
And Florida found some way to put it together, and all those juniors and seniors they all came together, and next thing you know, everybody's like, "Oh, you don't want to play Florida,"
Yeah.
and Florida pretty much ran away with the championship. It was pretty much won, I would say, in maybe January. Everybody's like, "Oh, no, Florida is the team."
But you know what? When the SEC is such a powerhouse, you any team from the SEC that makes it past the first, second round of the NCAA tournament, man, they've already played the best teams in the country. You know,
Mm,
you've played some of the best teams from the ACC, so you're tournament ready. You're not going
yeah.
to see you shouldn't see an SEC team go into the tournament unless it's a fluke that's not. I really thought Auburn was going to win it all last year. That was
Mm-hmm.
that was disappointing because I feel like Auburn had the team to beat. Um, I'm rooting for Bruce Pearl getting a ring. That's I hope Kentucky don't. I'd like to see Auburn get one. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
SEC to me right now is untouchable in
Well,
football.
you get like like all those teams like Tennessee, like Ole Miss will give you a run for the money.
Oh yeah,
Arkansas. And the funny thing is that at one time, every single one of those SEC schools had a run.
oh yes,
Like Arkansas they won they got one or two national championships,
Nolan
I believe,
Richard.
in the '90s. Yep.
Yep, yep,
Mm-hmm. And then Tennessee was just always known, for being a powerhouse. And then the only one that I don't think that won yet is Old Miss. Even Mississippi State at one point was a team you had to worry about
yep.
back in the late '80s, early '90s.
They had some good teams. Yes.
You know, so the SEC they always find a way.
Yep.
They always find a way. Yep. Mm, But so it's pretty interesting because like you're very close with Joe Smith.
Yeah.
And
Well, I wouldn't say real close right now. I'm not real close with Joe right now, but we're going to be real close.
yeah,
That's that was when I reached out to you because
yeah.
we're going to be going up to Joe's place and would like to have you down.
Oh wow, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, look, a number one draft pick from 1995, and being a
Mm-hmm.
customer and wanting to be a supporter, and we're going to do some things, and then he's got a golf tournament coming up too that me and you will talk about off.
Okay.
So there's a couple things right there, and you're right there in Jersey. Come down.
Yeah.
That way you can see what we do live and in person,
Yeah.
and to have and that's the exciting part of what I get to do as I build a business is having these guys. We were invited down to Shaq's camp this summer and worked his camp and I guess you say our relationship is really strong with the 3-4 Foundation of his.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be doing more things with them. Those are some great guys that run that organization for him. And, it's that led us to the Joe Smiths and some other guys, the Dale Davis and
Wow. Dale Davis cannot stand his ass.
really super
Listen.
super guy. I actually one of his guys right before we went on air sent me a picture of Dale and him and wanted me to convert it to a cartoon for him. And so I
Yeah.
sent it to him. But Dale is he's very quiet.
Yeah.
and
quiet, but will beat up, will try to beat up on some Knicks.
On the court, he's a badass. A badass. I'm gonna share this story with you because we're gonna go back to Georgia football. Because he's got a book coming out. I'm not gonna say his name, but this way it can maybe help him with some book sales. Don't know who it is when the book comes out, but we get to be on the backside of conversations and stuff. And this former Georgia player who played in the NFL and all this was talking about his recruiting process and went to this one school out in the Midwest. Everybody knows who the coach is. Everybody knows the school. And when he landed at the airport, a guy met him there, gave him the keys to a Porsche. And he drove it over to meet the coach, and the coach is sitting back. And as soon as he walks into the coach's office, he throws him a bag of $30,000 cash, and said, "How'd you like that Porsche? How'd you like your new Porsche?" And he said, "I told him," said Coach said, I can't take the money and I can't take the car. And said, "Why? You need more money? You need a better car?" And the guy was like, that's against every recruiting violation. It just happened. And, he ends up going to Georgia and having an NFL career. But he's sitting here telling this story, and we're sitting here, as a fan, like we share, any opportunity like that you could share without, some of this stuff is good to talk about the names and all that. But, we get to be on the backside of and hear stories of that. It's crazy because you hear like rumors and stuff.
Yeah.
And when you actually hear the guy talk about it, it's like, this is unreal. And that's just one of the neatest things ever, getting to hear those stories from those players.
Yeah.
And Joe,
go ahead.
No,
I was gonna say, did you ever hear the story about Alabama and the red? Yep, the red with the red Corvette.
Specifically, I mean, there's cars and stories with a lot of people I've heard, but not,
so they say when you show up to Alabama that they give you a bag of money and a red Corvette.
I wouldn't doubt it one bit because there's stories like that from a lot of schools that you hear these old guys talk about. And that's
the Pony Express.
Well, look, the NIL is really just legalized what they were already doing. Every school out there did it. Even at a D2 school, I've seen it on a small scale, just $100 or $200 or $400 or $500 to the best player. This is at a small school, so when you hear the guys actually talking about those stories of what they got, there's no question. Just it's every spectrum. Well,
because because at the end of the day, like you see these kids and they got chains. You like, hold up, like you don't got no job. Where you getting this money from?
Yeah.
So they say that Les Miles used to go. He goes. Don't forget, school first, football second. We're student athletes. I'm gonna say it again. School first, football second. And I go,
But the smart kids, the smart ones, and this guy was definitely smart. They know that the way that it's untraceable. These people that got caught, it's because they were cheating too. A kid gets busted because he took it. That's because another coach offered him something, and he knows damn well the only reason that kid went there. So they did.
They offered him more.
But so that's like with the NIL deal right now. More power to them. You want to pay a kid $1 million, you pay him $1 million. So look at BYU. Look at the money being thrown out there at BYU. That is insane. They're spending. So every school.
Well, what's insane is, if you go and you have a soda, they'll kick you out.
Yeah.
I found that to be crazy.
Yes.
And but that's probably their way of just trying to get rid of you.
Yeah.
They go, oh.
Yeah, but you know what? Look, it's they don't want to get rid. They don't want to get rid of kids unless
Uh-huh.
you really bad. Um, but it happens. You know, see what I want to get next. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. Where do we want to transition to now? What do you want to talk about?
Well, we could talk about like, well, you said you had an amazing story, an amazing life.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really want to touch into, because you know, like you went to school to get your masteries. Your master, I believe you said you got them in history,
I
and then
actually
from
got a bachelor's degree in history, but
yeah.
here's the cool story is I played bad father. Uh, so I played 1 year of college football. I could go earlier and it was a better story, but basically in a nutshell, I was a guy that felt like football was sports. Kentucky fan. I played basketball to my freshman year, but I got a football body, so I was good in football. Had opportunity to play a small college. Played 1 year. End up having to go out and become an adult. Like a
Mm-hmm.
bad father. So 1997, I got my CDL, started driving a truck.
Mm.
Over the years, I spent over the road until I got married. Once I got married, started trying to transition to get more closer to home. Trucking industry is up until about 5 years ago has always been a major part of my life.
Mm.
Had the opportunity to go back and get a history degree, and then started coaching high school football, and realized that I'd like to get into college coaching. Maybe I want
Mm-hmm.
because the politics and the amount of I'm coaching high school football for a quarter of what I was making driving a truck. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my ego didn't allow me to get wrapped up in that stuff. So I got my master's degree thinking, hey, I could do something at a college level coaching because I had coached college, doing something like that. And then it led me to this invention. And, but, I tell people I'm more proud of my CDLs than I am my master's degree. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I, I don't hide that what I do and who I deal with, and I think because of that, it's led me to a personal relationship with the inventor of the game of basketball, the Naismith family. You know,
Mm.
the Jim Naismith is a personal friend of mine, and that whole family is just insane, and the relevance of that compared to the inventor of the basketball game is Dr. Naismith. He did a lot of things outside of basketball, and the way
Mm.
he lived is the way the family lives, and that's kind of my connection with them. Is why I use that Naismith name, is because when you know who Dr. Naismith is, that family lives pretty much the same way. Dr. Naismith hates the commercialization of basketball.
Mm.
It's that, and then the people that we get to meet doing what I've done, working the shack camps and meeting individuals, like having the opportunity to work with a Joe Smith, or sitting here and saying an NFL guy and an NBA guy are customers. That's just insane as a fan, which is why I like doing your show.
Mm.
A lot more meaningful to me than wanting to wine and dine somebody. It's we both enjoy cigars, we enjoy sports. It made sense
Exactly.
that, hey man, let's do this and see
Is
how
yep. Mm-hmm.
we in the future.
So
Cause go ahead.
so where were some of your favorite places to travel to when you're driving?
I always hated your area.
Oh, it's
That
the
was
worst.
it
It's the
is
worst.
it is.
The
But I
traffic.
love
The
once you
traffic
get
is
out of
a
the
nightmare.
city. But once you get out of the city, man, New York State is beautiful.
Mm.
Up around the Great Lakes, on up, going up towards Canada. I
Mm.
always used to love traveling. Once you get over out of El Paso, Texas, and you're in
Mm.
that desert area, and there's nothing more beautiful than out in the middle of nowhere and seeing that sky.
Mm-hmm.
Driving the California coastline, but despise the state of California. Uh, LA, all beautiful cities all over, but just I despise being in California. Absolutely love Vegas, but there's not a state the 48 states I've not traveled in, and then now getting to do it on a business level is
Yeah.
even
So
better.
So how were those drives to South Dakota in the winter?
Insane. I
Yeah.
remember uh, going to bed. It was as clear as it could be. This was like in April or something, and you wake up and there's like a foot of snow on the ground, and you got to, you got to sit there. Which they do well with the roads, but
Mhm.
beautiful country. We live in the best country in the world. Um,
Mhm.
Being in the mountains where I am in East Tennessee, and be able to travel even up in your
Mhm.
area. We got beautiful country. You got everything
Mhm.
you ever want to see, from deserts to
Yeah.
mountains to oceans to. So to me, and we've got to travel over to Finland with what I do and see other
Wow.
countries. So I still think I see different things from different countries, but at the end of the day, man, we live in the greatest country ever. We got our flaws.
Mhm.
We can't do what we do in other countries like this.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
amazing. But seeing it from from behind, not being behind the windshield, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so much better.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, I know a few truck drivers, and they go, you know, going from Baltimore. He goes, I'll do a pickup in Baltimore. I'll take it to South Dakota. I'll stay in South Dakota for a day or two, and then I'll head back. But but on those 2 days, I'm trying to get a load to go back because you never want to leave empty.
Yeah, yeah. That's 100%. The money. He's evidently he's an owner operator, so that's come out of his.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's not a lot that comes out of South Dakota. I remember picking up Starbucks coffee in Seattle, but I had to wait a week to pick it up because I had a load that went out there.
Hmm.
Truck driving, and I told my kids, the one thing I'm gonna push on them is for them to get their CDLs. Um,
Mm.
Regardless of what you do, if you've got a CDL, you can always make money.
Yep.
One of the things about the trucking industry that's changed is most companies now have geared more to where you're not, it's more hub stuff, so you're able to be home more. I used to
Hmm.
go out before I got married. I was out 4, 5, 6 weeks, build up a week
Wow.
up to be home. So I just, I'd stop if I was in New Orleans, man, down there doing a trip or something. I'm gonna stop someplace, get me some good food. If I'm out in California,
Hmm.
I'm gonna go see some sights. So a lot of people, and that's even people that grow up and they live in their own town. They never experience outside of their own town.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but no, I truly got to enjoy the country, and now I'm looking at opportunities that I can share some of the things I saw by myself with my family, and I get to do that with business. So,
Hmm. And that's the one that's the best part about it is, life is all about transitions. It's about transitions and it's about experiences.
yep, yep,
And like you've been able to go from coaching to driving to now owning your own business. And in each one you had to learn different stuff in each one.
oh yeah, this business, man, it's my stressful, the most mind
Oh,
stressful ever been. It is don't take a
mhm,
toll on the body. Um,
mhm.
oh gosh, that's SRV patent
Yep.
process.
The develop.
There's a lot of that involved. What you do is you have to have a good patent lawyer. That doesn't mean that you pay big money, but it's having a lawyer. I always tell people you can start on your own. There's two ways. I think you can look up Google Patents if you've got an idea to get a rough idea. But like me, I've learned every step of the way. I become an expert, and then I move to the next stage. But getting a good patent lawyer, once you can figure out, let them do the research and tell you how patentable the ideal is, and then just paying someone to do the paperwork and tell them your idea. There's things that you don't want to do, which is you don't want to be out in your driveway if you live on a public road working on your product. If you do, you don't tell the patent lawyer because then your clock starts. You find
Mm,
out, once you go public, either with your idea to somebody or you actually show it to somebody, it starts a clock. So knowing your clocks, it's not a hard process. It's tedious, but that's what a good patent lawyer will do for you. Of course, anybody that whoever asked the question, you can look us up. I don't mind to share any information with you. The thing about patents is if you've got an idea, I can't steal it because then, even though we're first to patent a product or an idea, just the way that it's constructed, I'm very honest about the process and how it is. So if somebody wanted to share something with me, I'm gonna walk you through the steps. If it's an opportunity, like if it's in the sports world or something like that, if we can fund you to get you where you need to have a product, we'll think about it. And if it makes sense, do it. If not, I'm gonna tell you every step of the way what to do. I manufacture my product here in the U.S. cheaper and a better quality than if we went overseas, which is insane. It took me a year to accomplish that. So, but no, don't be intimidated. I've got people that I'm talking to and working with, coaches who's got ideas and things like that. And I had one out of Alabama. He told me he purchased some of my equipment, and then we had a conversation after I met with him, and he wants to invent something. And he told me, he said, "Man, I was so intimidated by that whole process, so I know what you've been through." And I'm like, yeah, and that's something that I love to share. Is yeah, it's hard as hell. It's stressful as hell. But when you can talk to someone that's been through it, that can say, "Hey, man, have you thought about this or you thought about that?" And I've got a great patent lawyer right now. She's awesome. You get so many claims on your patent, and what you want is the more claims. And I think they allow you 20 claims. My initial patent when I filed it was only like 9. So we've gotten it up to 20 claims, and it builds us the opportunity to really have a solid patent. But depending on what the product is, sometimes it makes sense to patent it, or sometimes it just makes sense to take it to market. Because your patent don't mean shit unless it gets stolen overseas. So you're protected a lot of stuff. So that's one thing, is to decide does it need to be patented or not. My patent lawyer, she got me my old business, our name, we got it trademarked to be able to sell as anything, and that was something I never expected. So I got the approval of the initial patent or the trademark, but then she got us to where, and I really never thought that we could be able to license apparel and stuff, and she got me to there. So I hope that helps. Another question
so speaking of patents, so like people hear about, and it's like one of those things like with Under Armour. Like when Under Armour first came out, because like there was like a timetable on it before other companies can copy that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's always a workaround, regardless of what it is. But you've got, before you disclose it to the public, there's so many levels that you can go. Like you can make a change to keep it from going public. But then once your patent is cleared, I think you got 20 or 25 years that it's yours. And it's like, one of the questions that I was asked early on is, your patent's not solid. What's your game plan for when somebody knocks you off? And first thing you think of is, well, I'm going to sue somebody. Well, you're going to be tied up in court. So, if somebody steals my idea over here, we'll let them sell it for 6 months, and then we'll just go to them and we'll say, hey, you owe me X amount of dollars. We'll license it to you now. So if they don't do that, then you just sue the hell out of them. And, luckily, my partner now is a corporate lawyer. So I don't have to worry about paying a corporate lawyer, the big money to go sue somebody like that, because, he's my partner. So lawyers, I suggest no matter what you do, just having a regular friend lawyer. Don't have to be an expert in the field, but, bounce ideas off of and I had that at the early on was a friend who was a lawyer. They know the general stuff, and they can help guide you. But yeah, having Lawyers is always a good thing to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Just, you got any other questions, Just, about it? And like, because you hear about a lot of ideas, and then the big companies will come in and scoop in, and make another version of it,
Yeah.
and pretty much just kill kill the company.
Yeah. And, the bigger companies, what they're going to do is they're going to buy it from you. Um,
Mm,
they it's not worth their while to steal something or to change something. It's worth their while just to come to you and say, "Hey, we want to license this." Um, we've had those discussions,
mm,
but that's where a good patent lawyer will come in. Um, about even the University of Kentucky, they've got their own trademark and patent lawyers that works on
mm.
campus specifically for them. Um,
Wow.
so it's huge. It's huge, and but the thing is just don't be intimidated, man.
Mm,
You ain't got to be rich. You ain't got to bring in a ton of money. We do this stuff pretty much bootstrapping it. Never, everything that I've done, I laugh and tell people, I was in Shaq's house not too long ago, and I'm like, this is insane. I'm in his house, and I'm thinking to
mm,
myself, I've got like $140 in my bank account.
mm.
You know,
You're hanging with Shaquille O'Neal.
well, and the thing is you're building you're building a business. So
Yep.
right now, I pay myself pretty well. Nothing great, but it's more than I've ever made. But I'm also turning around and I'm putting as much as I get paid or what I'm paying myself right back into my company because my payday comes once this thing is successful enough to where we're able to bring in that big time money on my terms. A
Mm,
lot of people will run out and they'll raise a ton of money and owe so much, and then you're lost because you're so far behind. So it's a struggle, but when you have good advice and fortunate for me early on, some people former greats in the game of basketball, college and pro, said, "Man, you're on to something. Just hang tight with it, and if you do it your way, you'll see that when it's time to bring in and scale like you need to, you'll be able to do it more on your terms than really lose your ass." So, I don't mind to share what we do, and really
mm,
having this foundation, I think, is going to give us some really good opportunities to not only be successful with this, but others. It's like right before we were on this call, there was some guys I had to do a business call, and there's a product that was out. I think it's been out on my other screen. It's been out 8 or 9 years, and it pretty much has not done well. And they're wanting me to step in and talk to them about what can they do to remanufacture, what can they do to get the
mm,
manufacturing brought from China over here and things like that. So, and I've already, it's a $7,000 product, and I'm looking at it thinking, no, it needs to be $1,000 product. So they've
mm,
got out, and it's a exercise piece of equipment. It's a pretty good idea, but there's no way that they can compete at that price level. It
mm.
makes sense, but I think that I can help them reduce that cost. And I think reducing the cost, then you're just talking about what's the margins, you know?
Yeah. And you know what? And you want to know something too? Like, look at Bowflex.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like
Man,
Bowflex was like the home gym for
yep.
years.
Yep. And a lot of the exercise stuff is a gimmick. Uh,
Hmm.
but you gotta have that gimmick for whatever it'll run.
Hmm.
Make what you
Yeah.
can. So
Yep.
um, I'm excited because part of what we did with the naming, it's my product is as a SRV trainer. My company is Nothing Else Matters Sports. So
Hmm.
we are looking to bring in other products and in time and things like that. And I'm probably not in a position to be talking about this other product about maybe bringing it in or think that, but I'm not going to turn it down. I'm
Hmm.
going to do what I can. And like I said, our conversation's a little bit different now than it would be 6 months from now. But either way, I'll talk to you. I'm not going to push you off because you never know whether it's the right investor comes in. And that's the other thing when you're talking about, they were talking about patents, is bringing in the right type of money when you do bring it in. I've got a training facility. I got one right here in my place, and you could go find me on Facebook and look up the SRV Factory. That's my training facility. I've got about $2,000 in my training facility, and everybody tells me they think I got at least $30,000 or $40,000 in it. I'm like, no, I did it myself. You know, we got as good a report as anybody, and but yeah, we do training here. I got trainers that come in that use my stuff to train with and train kids, but I don't charge my trainers anything for training. I try to give back on that level. So I want kids to train. I don't let people come in here and use it as a practice facility. I let people come in here to train. I coach some travel ball coaches. Now I don't need you in here training because I know what they call themselves trainers, but they coach travel ball. I'm like, no, we're a training facility. So we want to grow it and expand. But yeah, we try to do it all, and I'm actually in the process of expanding my training facility. So I'm fortunate that I've got a large enough facility that I can manufacture. Well, we assemble here. I've got the manufacturing is all done in East Tennessee. We final assemble it here at my place, and then ship from here.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And you know what? And that took me, like I said, it took me a year to get the manufacturing done. Don't think that you have to give your stuff to someone else to have them produce it, because you're probably going to lose a lot of money.
Wow.
If you really got an idea, invest that time. And the thing about the internet, and especially now with Chat GPT, oh my God, you can tell you some. And manufacture here in the U.S. You would be surprised at what you can produce here, just as good, if not better quality, and cheaper than overseas. So my product, we're able to produce it about $200 cheaper than if we was to take it to some of these cheap countries. So that's
wow.
That's big. But
yeah, also too, it's the weight, it's the shipping.
Oh, shipping. We do free shipping, but it costs me on average $400 to ship a unit, and we ship it fully assembled. You got to put 2 screws in, man.
Wow.
If you pay $3,000 for my equipment, I don't want you putting that stuff together. I want to make it as easy on you as possible. So we ship. We try to do a lot of our own deliveries. I try to do deliveries because, man, some of my best ideas and things with business occur when I'm out on the road going to deliver something. And plus, too, man, I'm flattered every time a school will buy my stuff, and they tell me how much they love it, what they're going to do with it, and it's an honor to me. It's very humbling, because I'm like, man, this is my idea, and these people, they're paying for this stuff.
That's the one thing too, is like when the schools are able to get use out of it, and they see it, and then another school comes for a scrimmage or a practice, and they put a machine, and they're like, I need one of those.
And we're starting to see that. I expect this year, as basketball season starts, schools, because it is replacing the ball rack, they pull it out during warm-ups and stuff like that in other schools. Yeah. We expect to see a lot of that start snowballing for us. So, which
is great.
I hope so. But
no, it will be. It's like, because people people follow fads, and once that catches on, they're like, I need that at my school. Next, it goes from 2 schools to 4, from 4 to 8. And next every school in that district is using that same machine.
Yeah, and with mine, we're the only product of its kind. There was one similar product. It's for rebounding, but it's been around for like 50 years. but it's completely it's mechanical and stuff. It's not designed with the simplicity that mine is. But one like with us, it's a shooting piece of equipment too. And you know you knew about the shooting machines that's out there, and there's a ton of those. But you know those you're just catching a ball and you're shooting. It's not making you a better shooter because shooting percentages ain't changed. What we're doing, what we're
At
doing,
all.
what we're doing for shooting though is teaching kids how to shoot for speed and accuracy and reps. So we're having them to shoot in sets of reps and shoot for speed and accuracy. And this is a whole different story for the sell point of it. But that's our thing, which is significant with the game of basketball. So we expect to really make kids better shooters with our equipment, just as good as rebounding. So, and I can tell you this, you know, Oscar Shebway had input on our the way our machine is currently designed. Our first one that we put out that we beta tested with, we took Oscar being the best modern day rebounder, worked with him for a couple of years, and then Jordan Kilgannon, the professional dunker, we got to know him as well. So that's a guy with about a 50-inch vertical. Both of those guys had input on our redesign. So, you know, we
that's
got
insane.
It ain't just my idea. I was able to take their input and redesign what our current version is, and you know, so it's not like, well, this is just one guy's thought. No, I was influenced with other people's with my initial ideal and adjusted it for them. So you know, it's pretty good to have equipment like that. And like I said, when a guy that had a significant career in the NBA buys your product, doesn't call you up, just buys it, you ship it to him, you find out who it is, and then a couple of weeks later we reached out and said, hey man, what do you think about the product? He's like, it's awesome. And I'm like, hey, would you like to give a testimonial for me? And as a customer talked about it, he's like, absolutely. We're fixing to order some more of your stuff. And I'm like, no, you're not. We'll take care of it. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, and then I got an NFL guy too, man, that played for Dallas. He's a former Cowboy. I'll tell you when we're not recording who that was. And
okay, all right, yeah.
We're fixing to get him a unit out there because he's bought one, and I said I'm going to deliver this to you because I got some other people out there to I need to talk to. So you know,
nice.
Can you think about building something and a pro player telling you that? It's insane. So
yeah, but Joe, we're gonna end it here. We're about 2 hours and 12 minutes in, so we're gonna end it here. Thank you guys for listen. You know, this show doesn't go without the chat. The chat is always great. I thank you guys for all the questions. Thank you guys for enjoying Joe and giving him questions. You know, this what this podcast is about. You know, because just because you're in the chat don't mean you're not a part of the show. You know, and a part of the conversation. You know, so you guys know the vibes already. Tell a friend. Follow Joe on TikTok at basketball and cigars. Also follow him on Facebook. Joe, what's the Facebook, Joe?
You should be able to find me, just Joe Paysinger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Joe Paysinger.
All my business stuff is on there. You can see who we work with, and then you know, I'm open. This is my first podcast ever. So
hey, listen, first podcast. How'd you like it?
I loved it. I like you, man. Like I told you before, man. I'm real picky on stuff. I'm not a guy that wants to do a podcast, but I'll support anybody. And you know, I know we're gonna work together, and I'm gonna get you down with these guys. And I
look forward to it.
So
I look forward to it, man. Joe, I appreciate it, guys. Tell a friend. Big Guilty Cigar Podcast. Until next time, peace.